Undoubtedly, the most recognized and enigmatic structure on the earth is the Sphinx. Gazing as it does towards the rising sun and silhouetted by the massive Great Pyramid of Giza, the Sphinx appears to hold the secrets of the universe, yet utters not a word. This silent figure sits in stark contrast to the rest of Egypt's ancient temples, which boast, often quite loudly, stories of our distant past on Earth and possibly beyond. The mesmerizing hieroglyphs that grace the walls and pillars are the pictorial language of the ancients, who felt it significant to communicate their history in such a way that would stand the test of time. What is it about this land that enthralls us? Why is it important to understand the mysteries of Egypt? And when we travel here, can a true healing occur? These are some of the questions that I hope to answer in the Earth Chakras documentary series Part 5, World's Fifth Chakra. Join me, Reverend Dr. Tracey Ulshafer, on a journey of exploration through ancient Egypt. Like millions before me, I had dreamt of going to Egypt since I was a little girl, learning about pyramids and pharaohs. I knew that one day I would make the trip here to see for myself what all the hype was really about. Well, all I can say is that Egypt does not disappoint. From the first day that I arrived and saw the pyramids of Giza in the distance, through the haze of the expansive city of Cairo, I felt strangely at home. But this is not surprising, since Egypt and the area surrounding it are the birthplace of humankind, and in so we have many links to this holy and very sacred land. The fertile Nile River flows oddly from south to north, making this cradle of civilization quite unique. Upon looking at the map of the famous Earth Chakras created by Robert Kuhn, another distinguishing quality emerges. Of the 7 major Earth Chakra epicenters, the throat chakra location on Giza Plateau, where the pyramid and Sphinx are located, does not sit directly on one of the major dragon lines that carry energetic flow throughout the planet. No, instead, the world's 5th chakra spins alone, not driven by male or female currents, yet assisting them nonetheless. In addition to this distant driving force, the Earth's 5th chakra also empowers the 4 vortices or spinner wheels that regulate the qualities of the alchemical elements known as earth, air, fire, and water. While the other 3 spinner wheels are located at various locations around the globe, it is only the air vortex that is one and the same, with an Earth Chakra. And that makes this a very special place indeed. It would be a gross oversimplification to attempt to package this location as solely the world's throat chakra. The Nile River aligns to the great Sushumna Nadi, or central channel, where all of the chakras are said to reside. It is very easy to see the correlation between each of the individual chakras with the temple site energies along this vast waterway. Yet, connections to the throat chakra do leap out at one. I sat down in Luxor to speak with sacred tour guide and energy practitioner Julianne Santini about such
So
things.
I'm talking to Julianne Santini, who is an energy practitioner, sacred traveler, host of our sacred tour through Egypt. Thank you so much for taking a couple minutes. I know you guys are so busy.
Of course. Our pleasure, really our pleasure.
I can't say, first of all, enough about the coordination and communication between you and John and this group. It's a big group, and there's a lot of energy, not just the group, but all of the experiences and everything.
Let alone that Tracey is bringing, so.
I mean, it's just a lot, and you guys are just, we're talking about the fifth chakra, and we're talking about one of the properties being communication, and I don't know what it's like in the behind the scenes stuff for you guys, but it seems very seamless the way that we're flowing through, and the communication between you and John, where one of you needs to fall back, one of you comes forward, and it's just a really great energy.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I would feel like both John and I, it reminds me of when you're little and you're roller skating and one person gets flung forward and then the next person gets flung forward. I feel like we do that on the trip with each other.
Yeah.
And it's about letting the person stand up that needs to stand up at that moment. And so that's one of the gifts of stepping into sacred sites, because it almost happens just via magic, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
It's so organic. Right?
Yeah. And gosh, everybody's having their own experiences. I was talking a little bit to Ehab about how the temples are communicating and speaking. I mean, how alive they are. I mean, I've had my own experiences, but many people just feeling or hearing or just experiencing this vibrancy in every sacred place that we go. And even like right now, we're not even on a boat anymore.
But we're in it.
A lot of times I'm just talking to somebody, but like the whole land is just swaying.
Yeah. It's definitely different in this land than others, because you've done a lot of sacred travel too. There's a different alignment here. It feels, the sacred geometry just feels different.
Yeah, it does.
I would say it's an amazing experience walking into any one of these temples. Each, as you know, has their own energy and frequency and vibration and history. But you're stepping into the body of God, or the body of the divine. And so literally it's the experience of being inside your God and your God inside of you. And that does something.
It really does.
Right? I laugh, we talk about every place we go being activating. And it feels like we are being activated, and yet we are activating.
Yeah.
There is that reciprocal play. And I feel like that's what you're saying as far as the energy here.
Yeah.
It's so obvious when we're here.
It is.
Whether that is just this place, or we've each stepped out of the busyness of our own lives, and I think that helps, right? Yeah.
One of the properties of the fifth chakra, since that's what this is all about in the documentary, is the element that is equated to this is ether. So some people say sound, but I drop into ether here, and it feels very much, when I think of ether and that ethereal element that just kind of wafts through everything. It's just kind of like a temple incense, you know, it's just kind of everywhere. And the divinity, it's just kind of weaving like that, and just always present in some way.
It's interesting because a lot of people will have past life rememberings, and it's as though they're stepping into this etheric double or etheric blueprint that you know, bump up against, you know, rub shoulders with. And it's like timelines merging, and that's part of the ethers. That's the etheric double, the many lives, you know, we've lived. Being at the throat chakra, it's interesting. We're talking about communication. It's not just our ability to speak and communicate well. The throat chakra is also for listening, right? Absolutely. And people tend to forget that, right? And we do see a lot of people step into their power, use their voice. I'll say sometimes it's a little messy when that first starts.
That's such a nice way to say that.
It's a little messy, but that's kind of part of the process, right? Like kids growing up, you see it. So when it's awakened and there's a maturity with it, right? What wants to be shared from that place? And it's taking time, stopping, being still, hearing your own spirit, hearing truth, and then sharing from that place.
Yeah.
So
Julianne is right. Opening the throat chakra can be a bit messy at the beginning. But with maturity and understanding, a true resonance manifests here in the form of clear communication, creativity, expressing truth, speech, and listening. In light of this spiritual maturity, I spoke with clairvoyant and global marketing strategist Liz Midas about many such things, also while in Luxor.
I want to first start off by just thanking you for being my rock and guiding me a couple of times through some of these sites, because I really want to talk to you about communication, and man, these places are really speaking to me, and sometimes it's just like I'm untethered, and you've been my anchor. So thank you so much for doing that. So yeah, we're just talking about how do we explain what you do, because you're on both sides of the fence in the corporate world and then in some healing stuff. So explain to everybody what you do.
Yeah, well, I think I've been about 30 years almost working professionally as a clairvoyant and healer of various kinds. And then at the same time, parallel track, running global marketing, advertising campaigns, strategy, thought leadership for several well-known brands, some not so well-known, and been very much able to take that clairvoyant side of my life into the corporate world and amplify the effectiveness of those communication plans, expression for various brands, and be their voice.
Yeah. So, I mean, on any normal day, I could talk to you all day about communication. But what's different about being here? What do you feel?
What's different about being specifically in Egypt for me is kind of the articulation of this kind of creativity that is always kind of fired up in my belly, and then being able to express it in a different way than any other place on the planet. And also, I try to turn the clairvoyance off so that I'm not, crazy psychic for everybody. I don't like being a drive-by psychic, as I say. And so I normally have that a little bit under control. And here, there's no need to have it under control. But I'm also not able to control it the same way. And so I've been getting a lot more visual layers and almost experiencing communication, just hieroglyphics is a form of communication that I've not been embedded in.
Yeah.
So to have this layer, it's been this incredible filter to engage with the world, and then the pictures, right? So I speak in pictures. I don't normally speak in words all the time. So it's a different marriage of words and visuals. It's so cool. Because the consistency of the air here is different. The consistency of the language is different when you're hearing and surrounded by Muslim prayers being casted throughout the city.
Yeah, how about that? I love that. I'm not sure how it feels for everybody, but it's
I've
special for me.
actually tapped into it a few times. One, it's absolutely incredible in terms of I'd say a control mechanism, and normally I say that in a not so positive way, but to create a vibration that is the same for an entire city is fascinating, right? Just like that, 5 times a day or 6 times a day, I don't remember how many times a day, but it's intentional, and then it gets everyone working in the same kind of path.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I love the reminder of the sacredness of this place, no matter who's translating it. I think because I don't know the language and I can't translate it for myself, that it's better, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what they're saying, so I believe it. And I might not.
It's kind of like going to the opera. You don't know what they're saying, but you feel it. It's a very visceral feeling.
Yeah, it's very emotional and ethereal, and at times very angelic, especially when we've heard it vibrate in the mountains, in the land, and you echo it.
Or from both sides of the Nile.
Both sides of the Nile.
You're passing through a city, and they're both cities on each side at the same time, and it's like, maybe it's like a tiny partial second off, so there's kind of like a vibration or something.
It holds you and cradles you for sure.
Powerful.
I actually at one point thought, I'm like, are these competing masks? But that's not it. It's funny, but I think being on the Nile makes it even more special that you get both sides of that storyline, and to be kind of caught in the middle and caught in a way of being cradled, back to that word, like, but on water, and just this kind of stuff passing through you, quite literally flowing, is very unique.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say for people who are not fully embedded in some sort of spiritual practice or not living and breathing this day to day, will also get the gift of understanding this culture in present time, of how loving the men are to each other. I love seeing men hug and kiss.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the United States.
No.
The pride and emotion they have for their work, I mean, that has been something I did not even put in my realm of awareness before the trip.
Right.
And seeing it come to life. And, I think if we're not, depending on where you live, you might not be exposed to various cultures and religions, and what you see in the news might be scary, and you might have an association to something that makes you nervous. And I felt nothing but good, even in the haggling and the, kind of the mishigas of getting of a donkey ride. There's still this level of love and care with the locals, and that's been awesome.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
To Westerners, it can be quite shocking or abrupt to hear Egyptians speak. But Liz hits it directly on the head. There is a loving energy behind their banter, which translates energetically to the love flowing upward from the heart chakra to the throat. The reason that this densely packed area at the neck and throat often becomes easily blocked is simply because there's a tremendously expansive loving energy flooding into this narrow passageway, which, due to past traumas or abuses, physically cannot always support the extent of prana whipping upward. When this happens, the balance between listening and speaking often teeters back and forth until we find the right harmony that we need. This goes for inside each one of us as well as outward in the planet. For if we were to broaden the band of the 5th chakra, we would see how it encircles the area of the Mount of Olives at the eastern edge of Jerusalem, a holy land that's unfortunately been plagued by misunderstandings for quite some time. So when ancient yogis referred to this chakra as Visuddha, meaning purification, they truly understood the nature of the energy here. This gateway at the throat purifies what the yogis called amrita, or divine nectar, a mystical elixir of immortality that nourishes the body, ensuring excellent health and longevity. It seems fitting that the ancient Egyptians were then obsessed with immortality, creating extensive rites of passage from this mortal body and life to the afterlife. Spells and incantations written in the Egyptian Book of the Dead promise one this immortality, and the lengths gone to create the massive tombs for the mummified royals and high-ranking people ensured that one way or another their legacy lived on for thousands of years. Einstein said, "Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. Behind everything that exists is a resonance or vibration." Many healers and energy workers agree that by attuning your vibration to a higher frequency perpetuates good health and longevity. I spoke in detail with fellow Reverend Dr. Mimi Kate Monroe about all things sound and vibration while sitting in our Luxor hotel. So we just accidentally kind of fell into this same trip together. It's not like we planned it. You knew John and Julianne a different way than I came to know them. And
it's no accident.
Yeah, certainly no accident. We're looking at the Nile. We're cruised down the Nile for like a week. We're listening to these prayers just kind of echoing through the cities and the towns. And, this documentary is about the Earth Chakras and the idea that maybe we're sitting in the epicenter of the 5th chakra, which is about communication and receptivity of hearing. And there's this, I know a couple of girls on the boat or in the temples really felt some kind of spirit moving through them to voice some kind of song or celebration, and you always had this beautiful harmony or a background that kind of came in, and it was really, really beautiful. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about the experience of that, the experience of hearing the prayers, the experience of moving through the temples and letting your voice kind of open. Mm-hmm. Can you share kind of some thoughts about that?
Sure. I love sound. I just love sound. And I love harmonizing. So one of the biggest joys of my singing life is to sing with someone else or more than one other person, but not necessarily sing the same thing. Mm-hmm. There's something about unison that's very grounding, and I can understand, having sung in many choirs and in churches where the congregation also sings, that there's a unity in a chant or a prayer or a sung piece that everybody says or sings the same words, the same melody. But there's something that always calls me to do something like rise above, but it's not above anybody, it's just above the sound. It's just what my voice wants to do.
Yeah.
So going through the temples, and many people, when they sing just spontaneously, they sing low, and chants are always low. So it's hard for me. My voice is a little higher. So it accommodated that over time by finding a harmony.
Okay.
Yeah, or singing above it, an octave higher.
Have you felt the call to sing or chant on your own, or just to find a melody for somebody else to kind of harmonize with another?
It's both. I have found that there were times in the temples where I just wanted to hum, but they had told us that it was a sacred space. I didn't want to do that without somebody saying, go ahead.
Yeah.
So it was kind of floating around in my in my mind.
And yeah, there is that component. There's, you can get a lot of trouble sometimes or get a citation if you do something that they consider to be a prayer or meditation in a sacred site. Other times you can get permission. So having like this this spirit kind of calling you to tone or do something and then being told you can't is like, and where do I put it?
Yeah, you know that feeling when you're about to cry and your throat sort of swells up? It's a little like that, but not quite as painful because the sound still comes inside.
Yeah. And I there was a couple of times where as our group was chanting something and then we got the note to like take it down, so then we were all going quieter and quieter, and then at one point John was like, in your head, this one's inside, right? And there is in mantra, the repetition of sacred sound for Hindus, there is japa, which is this internal repetition internally, right? So it's not, it doesn't come out, but you can still feel the sound in your body, even though if it's not like fully expressing itself.
Well, sound is a vibration.
Yeah.
So there's a vibration to its genesis, there's a vibration to its beginning, there's a vibration to its expression. So yes, it's a vibration.
That vibration.
Yeah. I will say that the throat chakra and sound, the throat creates the sound, but it has to start in the heart, and it's supported in the belly.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, I think in America, I was talking about this with somebody else, in America, people think all of their sounds coming from here. But when you're not bringing it from down here, it does sound like this.
Yeah, it has no power.
It has no intention or power behind it, and then you drill on, people can hear you. But when it comes from here,
it's powerful.
yeah. I remember I was in choir in school, but this was particularly a band lesson. I was playing clarinet, which is a woodwind, so you have to blow. And my teacher he's like, may I touch you, right? Very appropriate, even back in the 80s, but he was like, and he would push into and say, blow from here, like, and he would make me try to use my diaphragm to bring and I, over the years, like, working with people through yoga who don't quite have the energy here, and it is coming out really light up here, I would do the same thing. I would say, see if you can bring the sound here, into your power center, and then bring it up. And a few people that were professional singers also said there's similar things that
it's
you
all
do.
of these abdominal muscles, everything around the back. Think of it as the lungs and this area as a giant balloon, and that's your air cavity. And then the vocal cords, this is kind of technical, but they're like the little lip, right?
Yeah.
And if you just relax, it's like just a big exhale.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But then you also need the resonating chambers.
Right.
For sound.
Yeah. The whole thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're talking about traveling through this sacred, powerful place we all agree on. Is it the 5th chakra center? Maybe it is, but it doesn't mean that there isn't this presence of all the other chakras. I mean, we're moving through these temples and we're feeling the presence of all of this activation happening. So I feel like it's part of that, what you're saying too.
Well, we can look at it as individual chakras, and we can look at it as an integrated whole. The earth is an integrated whole,
Absolutely.
Right? So it's a little of both.
Always is.
Yeah.
One of the chants we've been doing over and over is to the goddess Sekhmet, who is right here with us. And the chant is Sa Sekam Sahu, and we keep bringing her in various different temples and places. You want to harmonize with me for a moment?
Sure.
Sa Sekam Sahu. Sa Sekam Sahu.
Sasakam Sahu. Sasakam Sahu. Sasakam Sahu. Sasakam Sahu.
Oh, we could chant all day.
That was fun.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
An expression that echoes throughout immortal Egypt and corresponding to the fifth chakra is speaking and hearing truth. How do we know a great truth? We feel it in our hearts and it resonates through our bones. Connecting to the energy of this chakra epicenter is a way to connect to your own truth, your higher self, as mirrored back to you through the divine. Every sacred step in this land is an opportunity to connect to who you truly are and what you are here on this planet to do or share with others. One simply cannot travel here without being hit at some point with this high truth. And when you lean in and feel into Egypt's vibration, you receive more than you can ever anticipate. This was certainly my direct experience more than once while traveling through Egypt. But the time it first got my attention was in Philae, the temple of the mother goddess Isis. Philae Temple sits on the banks of the Nile. Philae itself is an island, and so getting there occurs strictly by boat. The temple was moved from its original location after the Aswan Dam caused it to slightly submerge into the Nile. Moving the 40,000 pieces of 2 to 25 ton block a slight distance up the Nile was imperative in preserving the structure. Once on the island, the pull of the divine is strong. Our group was privileged to experience Philae privately in the early pre-dawn hours. As I walked in slowly, my chest heaved and heart pounded, emotions welling up to mimic the energy of the mighty Nile. I walked past the birthing house and into the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, the innermost shrine. There in the center room boasts a single stone altar where a sacred barge bearing a statue of the goddess Isis would have once sat. I chose a spot to the right of the altar and sat facing it cross-legged on the floor in near pitch black. Soon I began to rhythmically sway and breathe deeply, connecting my being to the holy waters and grounds of this temple place. It did not take long for the goddess to appear in front of me. I saw no body, just felt pure divine feminine essence. What she spoke came through telepathically, and what she said was stern and direct. Stop shirking your responsibilities. You have been here before, priestess of Isis. To move forward, you must realign with this aspect of your highest self. It was true, of course. I felt it deep in my bones. Her message to me was a reiteration of the one I'd been given by her in the Moon Temple of Sacred Valley, Peru, when in 2019 she told me to remind the group of women traveling there that our time for playing small in the world was over. As if I had not heard her back then, she was coming to me now in Egypt with a big reminder. What came as a direct effect of this attunement was a visual light language through my hands that was captured by an Egyptian antiquities official traveling with our group, who seemed to intuitively know that I needed to express this while he recorded me. This spotlights the many different ways in which communication presents itself. Writing is my primary method, and since I was traveling with a group that was writing a book together, it felt like a perfect opportunity to talk about the fifth chakra's aspect of communication. So Emily Atlantis Wolf, professional healer and author, and I talked about writing, storytelling, and more.
And, you know, we are borrowed earth. We are the earth. Our body does not belong to us. All of the molecules that are the body are just borrowed from the earth. And so we are minerals, we are crystals, we are iron, we are flesh, we are blood, but all of this is just borrowed. And so therefore we have access to that information, that DNA, that earth DNA. So it makes sense to come here, such an earthly place, such a cradle of civilization, because inevitably we all came from here.
It really is magical.
It is.
And we're writing this beautiful book together, Love Initiation, and you have been involved in many other collaborative books in the past as well.
So this is my 10th book project with Brave Healer Productions. So I've done 10 collaborative book projects. I like the writing process. I like the collaboration. This is my second sacred journey, the author's journey, where you go on a trip and then you use the trip to inform or inspire your writing and sort of marry together the experience of healing as a group and then also writing and workshop writing and expressing.
Right.
So in a way, it's a way to embody. I see it as, for me, it's a way to have the experience and then embody it. A lot of times I've been on retreats where I'll go and I'll have a huge experience, but then I don't really embody what I saw or felt or what energy was shifted, as well as this kind of a trip where I'm writing about it, considering it. But for me, the act of writing is therapeutic. It's a way to take that experience, reflect on it, consider it. What do I want to let go? Maybe I write down a letter to my old self, burn it up in the fire. Maybe I just need a chance to go through that again. Had this big experience. Let me write about it and like think about it a little bit more. But it's different. It's not just a high. Like, let's see how high we can go. Let's, blow out the spiritual valves. It's like, how about we do that and then have some dinner together? Let's ground. Let's see how the body reacts to that and how does it feel after that. So I love the process. I love the writing. I'm doing writing support for the book.
You are.
And
for 33 people are you supporting? And it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, I love it. I do it really well. I've done it for over 100 authors. And my component, Laura's doing the writing workshops and the getting us to really kind of start that. Like, I think of her as like the spark to the fire. But for me, I'm always looking at the storytelling. I'm very much committed to how do we get the story to be alive. I'm a big believer in the concept of engaging and compelling stories. Because we can all write a story and in third person and it's fine. But as soon as you start to get some of that feeling in there and as soon as you You can put a cadence to the words, and you start to feel the rhythm of how different words taste in your mouth, or how they come out of your mouth, or how they look on the page versus they're spoken out loud. All of a sudden, it has more of a heartbeat to it. You know, engaging storytelling is getting people in. So I always say, forget the backstory. We all have backstory. We all do. I don't want to hear the backstory. I want to hear the juice. What happened? Why was that so important to you? Why are you crying because you see someone who looks like your mother? Because your mother died,
Right.
14 years ago. And all of a sudden you're feeling her in you. You're feeling like she's in the trip with you.
Right.
Which has been my experience. So my job, how can I help everybody tell the most engaging story so that they really feel like they've had a chance to have their voice come out of their body and onto the word? Because expressing with your voice is important, and the writing voice, I feel, for me, that's the closest to my soul. That's the way I speak at a soul level, is exactly the way that I write. So it's powerful, but it also, I think, it gives you confidence.
Yeah.
You have the confidence to bring it out into the world and then publish it out and send it out across the world.
Yeah. Some people get really scared by that possibility. What do you tell those people?
I understand, because I was scared, and I think it's natural because we're conditioned, especially as women, to be quiet, to be kind of accommodating to other people's feelings over your own.
Right.
So I understand the conditioning, but it's also liberating. And I always tell people, that was your experience.
Right.
You're not able to tell someone what they feel. If I say, I feel sad, I feel empowered, I feel, that is your own experience. And to claim that experience as your own human experience and say, maybe this is going to make you mad, my intention is just to express my experience. There's nothing to be afraid of. In the sense of, you don't have an intention to hurt someone else.
Right.
And ironically, the people that have the intention to hurt other people, or to be, pick a word, mean or narcissistic or something like that, they never have that thought, ever.
No, they don't.
They just have a blowtorch to the world. They don't care. If you care, it's because you're a considerate person.
Yeah.
It's time to be both considerate and powerful. Also, we need those words. Somebody needs to read that story. Somebody needs to hear that you were scared and quiet and nervous and concerned, and that you did it anyway. That's what this is about.
Right.
It's about reaching into someone else who has a strikingly similar condition to you. All of a sudden you're reading these words and you think, that's me. They're having the experience I'm having, except for they decided, I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And to me, that's what being brave is about. Yeah, you're scared, and you do it anyway.
Right.
In my case, 10 times.
I love that. Well, just to sum up, I guess, the experience of the energy here in Egypt, what would you say?
I think everybody, I feel like I've come home to Egypt. I feel like there's a part of me that has come home in a big way. Yes, I have the experience of remembering being in Egypt. I set up an Egyptian healing temple that I thought was in my imagination until I realized it's real and it's here, and I found it on this trip and had a full body, oh my gosh, moment where it was just pure, like every circuit lit up. Every single switch that I had just went on. And it was remembering what I have for years thought was my imagination. Like, I picture this Egyptian temple. It's real. I was really doing that here. So I feel like I've come home. There's a place, I think, for many people to feel like they've come home to Egypt. And I think that love is a good place to work. Love initiation, this is a good place to work it out. Where can I step? Where can I take action with love instead of fear, with my heart instead of with my mind? Not the safe choice, but the most heart-based choice.
Atlantis said it best. Egypt is like coming home. About 111 million people are blessed to call this land their home every day. Yet if you listen to the news, you may get a different story about Egypt. For this reason, our tour organizer extraordinaire, Ihab Rashad, and I sat down to discuss the truth about living in Egypt.
And are you based in Luxor or
No,
Cairo?
I'm based in Cairo.
You're in Cairo.
Exactly.
Well, that's where I met you,
Yes.
in Cairo.
Yes. Yeah. I born and raised in Cairo.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Is it your favorite place?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big city.
It
It's a
is.
lot different than some of the other places that we've been to.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx. I mean, how do you?
Yeah, you cannot see this at any place in the world. It's magnificent. I mean, to be in the Sphinx, like nobody there, it's something. Yeah.
And I think it's probably the most iconic figure in antiquity in the world.
Definitely. Yeah.
Everybody knows the Sphinx.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a
Beautiful sunrise.
before
Yes.
sunrise that you arranged,
Yeah.
and we were able to get inside the Sphinx complex, which not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful energy. So amazing. How many times have you been there yourself?
More than the fairs themselves.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100 times. 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, how
Yeah.
lucky. So, in my documentary, the not just Egypt, but that area of the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, and then another spot in Israel, Mount Olive. These are supposed to be the world's fifth chakra energy center.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to add something to these sacred places. You know that most of the prophets, or the majority of them, they either born here or Israel or pass by.
Yes.
So it's really, plus it's a sacred place. It's really holy places.
Very holy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many tours have you put together?
Oh, more than hundreds. I cannot remember. I mean, like every year, like I think 30 or 40. I've been doing this with the spiritual people. I'm doing this since 1997.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's almost 25 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
But you must love it because
I adore. I mean, now if I got like an email and they are like classical, do you want to see the pyramids, take photos and here and there? No, I don't take it. No.
you only do certain trips
Exactly.
now?
Yes, I only do with the spiritual.
Yeah.
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 I love them so much. They are so kind.
How do you do a trip that's not spiritual here? How do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very classical. I can do your group. I do only Luxor Temple in one day, Karnak Temple in one day, West Bank in one day. No, with the classical or the, I don't want to say normal people, but I mean with the with the people that would like to have this classical tour. I can do West Bank in the morning, Luxor Temple in the evening. That's it, finish.
Wow. I
Yeah,
can't
and they
imagine.
never go to Dandara and Abydos.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Wow.
No.
So many special places,
Yeah.
though. What do you think it is about Egypt that, I mean, you have all of these amazing antiquities, but what do you think it is about it that brings people here all the time?
You mean as tourists?
Yeah.
It's the sacred places. Yeah. Sacred places and the Nile. The Nile, it has its own magic. You cannot experience this in any place in the world except here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nile has I mean, when you sail, you cannot find in any place in the world this, like, all these colors, like the blue, green, yellow. You see cows, donkeys, and
Yeah.
it's really
It was,
special.
It was
And you see
magical,
the
yeah.
fishermen, and they have their simple life, and they don't care. You have internet, they have Wi-Fi. Never. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
The only thing they care about is to feed the kids
Yeah.
and raise the kids, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been very nice seeing how people live and how kind they are how nice they are.
And even if they are living very simple, they're happy.
Yeah,
You
well,
can see. You can see they're happy.
the simpler you live, the happier you are, I think.
Yeah. Exactly.
The less things, the less problems,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you see people living along the Nile and they're sleeping in the grass with like a little covering, and they're working.
And you know what? Their food, it's only like cheese and bread. That's it. And they're happy with that.
And they're really
Yeah.
happy.
They're really happy.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to live here and grow up here. And does it get old seeing the pyramids all the time and all of these? Does it ever get old? Do you feel like
No.
I had a Egyptian man live with me for a couple of years, and he said nobody, and he was from Cairo. He said nobody in Egypt goes to the pyramids.
He's
I
right.
went, what?
Yeah.
How
yeah.
do you not do
Yeah.
that?
They don't feel it.
Wow.
Yeah. They thought it's some stones and that's it.
Why do you think
They
that
ne-
is?
Because they never grow in the school. They never get good education. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have people from all over the world wanting to come here and see that, but the people here
yes,
are not getting to see.
exactly. Yeah. I will tell you something. Like, if you ask Americans, did you go to New York? No, it's the same. Yeah. I mean, it's close. So they thought that they can visit New York at any time,
Yeah.
but they never go.
We go when we have visitors and we
Exactly.
take them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
How do you feel about, like in New York City, we have I've been to the temple several times in the Metropolitan Museum
Okay.
that was moved from
Yes.
Egypt there. How do you feel about all those things being removed from Egypt, a British museum?
I will tell you
and-
something. I never go to the museum in London or New
Yeah.
York because I don't feel this that the temple is belong to this place.
Right.
So I would feel sad. So that's why I never go.
Yeah.
I hope one day they will move these things, they get it back to Egypt again. Yeah.
I hope so too.
It's belong to Egypt. It's belong to the place. Yeah.
Yeah. And the new museum, when is that going to open?
Nobody knows. But I think after the election, definitely, we have the presidential election on the 10th of December for like
Okay.
2 days. So I think after the election, maybe end of December, they will announce when they will going to open it. Because
Maybe.
they have to open it.
They have to. They
Yeah.
keep pushing it back and
Exactly.
pushing it back.
Yeah.
I follow a group on Facebook, and they keep showing pictures of what's inside. And
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It
Let's
will be
get
the best
inside.
display. Yeah, exactly.
we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then we are building the new capital.
Oh,
It's
where's that?
It's about like 50 kilometers north of Egypt. So it's a really nice one.
North of Cairo, you
Yeah,
mean?
north of Cairo.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
And that's a new capital.
new capital. Yes, all the government will move there.
There's a lot of change.
A lot of change. Yeah, but then the president is doing really good work.
But he's up for election. Do you think he'll make it?
Definitely, 100%. Yeah.
Is there any candidate running?
There is one, but he will not take more than 5%, 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Egyptian, they like stability. So
Yes.
they okay with the president. At least he's really honest.
Well, honesty is important.
Very important. Yes.
I mean, that's another quality of this energy center. When it's not working properly, people are dishonest.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anything else you want to share about Egypt with?
The only thing that the people, when they say, "Oh, we have a problem in the Middle East," Egypt became number one. I mean, the problem. No, actually, like what
know.
happened yesterday in Israel and Gaza, they will say, "Don't come because Middle East is on fire."
Yes,
Egypt is far from that.
I know.
Far, very far. So far away from that, all these kind of troubles. So people, they have to feel that Egypt is really safe.
Yes.
And you feel it, of course.
Yes.
You feel it yourself.
Completely.
Yeah.
I know my husband and other people were concerned that I was coming, and everybody, I've been researching coming here for many years.
Wow.
And every person I've ever talked to said the people in Egypt are lovely.
They all love
It's
foreigners.
safe in
Yes.
Egypt. They love the tourists.
They love tourists and they love Americans more than anybody.
Why do you think that is?
Because Americans, they have the same sense of humor like Egyptians. No, I'm serious. Not like
Our friend Emil, who works for you, who
Yeah.
is our guide, I want to ask about his stories. Are they all true?
mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly. See, I think he's a little.
Yeah, I know.
He embellishes a little
Yeah.
bit, or he fills things in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he's amazing.
You're so smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know.
Yeah. You feel.
But it's just listening, and you can feel how much he loves
Yeah.
what he does.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think part of it is a little bit for our show.
So, yeah,
A little bit, but his heart is in it.
he's pure. He have a pure heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for taking some time to chat
Thank you
with
so
me
much.
about
Yeah.
being in Egypt, and I appreciate
Thank you so much.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Humans will never harmonize with the purpose of life until they learn to hear and respect the voice of the Earth Spirit located here. Robert Kuhn. The first utterance by Egyptian creator god Atum at the moment of creating a new world was Hu. The pyramid text referred to Hu as the word of creation. Hu is also the name of an Egyptian god described as the personification of divine utterance, said to be depicted in the form of the Sphinx. And so it seems that all roads in immortal Egypt do lead back to this ancient being. If this enigmatic figure could speak, what would it tell us, teach us, reveal to us? Would it explain how the ancient Egyptians came to cultivate such a knowledge of astronomy, architecture, sacred geometry, and writing, seemingly out of nowhere? Would it lift its left paw and reveal, as mystic Edgar Cayce envisioned, a great hall of records, possibly dating back 10,000 or 20,000 BC and connected to Atlantis? Maybe the Sphinx would teach us of the true history, the time of Zep-Tepi, or first time, an epoch prior to ancient Egypt when the gods reigned on earth. And perhaps it would tell the story of the lion-headed extraterrestrial beings called the Irma, the beings depicted in the Sphinx when its original lion head was intact, and of their oath to protect and preserve all life on earth, who some say are returning in this time to assist us once again. What if the key to unlocking the truth through this sacred earth spirit at Giza is by harnessing the energy here to heal our individual throat chakras? If we not merely connect to the wisdom keepers of Giza, but allow them to assist us in detoxing and purifying Visuddha, and if enough pilgrims allow the channeling of this energy into their own beings, could we collectively reach a tipping point where we could open the doors and assimilate all the knowledge that the ancient Egyptians also once did? Well, I, for one, am welcoming the opportunity to find that out. Let's awaken a new world together, connecting to the Giza Plateau. Chant with me as we open our throat chakras together in perfect love and harmony. Ooh. Ooh.